Cool. Right. Well, hello. Hello, Colby. How are you?
Hey, good. How are
Yeah,
you?
good. Thank you. I I was just saying to you before we came on that my laptop crashed a minute ago, so I'm just hoping everything's going to be okay. I upgraded to Big Sur, because I was having display
Uh,
issues. Um, but yeah, so I'm just hoping that it all goes.
I still have yet to make that upgrade
Well,
yet.
it's still in beta, so you're probably right not to have made the
Mm.
upgrade yet. Um, but
Yeah.
I have made the upgrade, so there we go. Um, I can't. I wonder how far. I'm just trying to see when our faces have appeared on the Twitch stream. Oh, there's some people there.
Oh, it seems like it's been shown for a little bit
Oh,
for me
cool,
now.
cool. I think that's
Yeah.
good. Cool. Well, we this is our third stream together. We're like streaming buddies, Colby, which is
Oh
very
yeah.
cool. Um, and we've been looking at a couple of different things already. So we've looked at two of your React projects together. So React 50reactprojects.com, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We built a quote like a memory card system, like to try to remember stuff,
Yeah, like flashcards.
flashcards. And what was the other
Yeah.
thing we did was the maps. Of course, we did some
Yeah.
fun with maps.
With
Yeah,
Egghead.
absolutely, which was cool, which was cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna just pull up a browser so that we can talk about what it is we're doing, which should be over
Sounds good.
here. Um, do, 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 do. Cool. It is. Yeah, that's what time it is with me. I think it's a bit earlier with you, right?
Yeah, it's about 3 p.m. here on the East Coast of the United
Right.
States.
Well, in England, it is 8 p.m. So, duh, 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 duh. What am I looking for? Oh yeah, let's well, I pull up your starter and we can talk about what we're planning on doing.
Sure, I can send a link. Do you have
I
a link?
think
Also send it in the Twitch chat in case anybody wants it,
cool. I'll see if I can
and
find it
I'll send it
by
in
typing
Skype in case you.
next WordPress starter. I got it.
Yeah.
This is cool.
So yeah, this is more of your neck of the woods with WordPress, right?
Mm,
So I'm I've always kind of worked with WordPress in the
yeah.
past. So like just small client sites, like my
Mm,
sister-in-law, and like a lawyer that I maintain their site. But so I've never gotten super technical into it. But I've always had this idea where I've always viewed WordPress. I know it gets a lot of flack, but I still think it's one of the UIs for publishing, because
mm,
people that are non-technical still have an ability to get up and running on that with
mm,
not a whole lot of friction.
yeah.
Um, and a lot of the headless CMSs, while there's a lot of great uh, solutions out there right now, they're just very developer oriented.
Yeah.
So that makes it tough for the non-technical
Mm-hmm.
people. So that's why I kind of like this idea of melding the Jamstack approach with WordPress and seeing how far we can get.
Yeah.
I know Gatsby has a plugin that kind of does this all out of the box, but I
Not
haven't really
quite
seen
out
it
of the
done
box, but yeah.
statically. No?
But
Okay.
it does get you a lot of the way. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But I'm hoping we can see what we can do with
yeah.
next. I think the thing that differentiates the work that I've been trying to do is that I've been trying to do it
Mm-hmm.
statically, as opposed to I've seen one or two other Next projects that does it with server side
Mm-hmm.
rendering, and that's completely valid. But I really like the static
Mm,
approach and to be able to deploy it
yeah,
anywhere, whether it's an S3 bucket
yeah,
or whatever.
absolutely.
But
And I think
so I'm curious to get your thoughts on
yeah, no,
this.
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I mean, one of the thing I've recently done, and I'm actually in the middle of a big client project with a games publisher, using WordPress and Gatsby, and they're very particular about their assets. They want to make sure that nothing gets public that shouldn't be public, and nothing gets out there. So, I
Mm,
statically built non-database hitting assets on an S3 bucket, completely separate from the rest of the infrastructure, was really high on their list. So
yeah.
yeah, so we're taking that, we're doing that. Myself and business partner are building out that for with WordPress and Gatsby, and yeah, I hadn't done it before, and Gatsby, I think we do mostly of our stuff in Next, and we tried to push for Next, but they had a consultant in who said it should be in Gatsby. So hey, we're doing it in Gatsby.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but it's pretty cool. And yeah, what we're interested in today, I thought I could show you kind of what Gatsby does and how that does it, and then we could try
Yeah.
to see how we could replicate something similar in Next, if that works.
No, I think that's great. Is there a way for me to see your screen live rather than just the
That
Twitch
would be
feed?
nice.
Just wondering so that I can see it
That would
in
be
real
really
time. It's
cool.
okay if not.
Let me see if I'm able to do this. Can you see?
Yep,
Did that work?
I can.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. Right. My internet connection is now sending my screen 3 ways, Colby's face 7 ways. Yeah, it's going to be fine, everyone. Yeah.
Too much Colby.
Too much Colby. No, there can never be too much Colby. Come on. Never too much Colby. Cool. So this is what I use for. Oh, that you shouldn't really see that one. Let's turn this on. So this is what I use local for my local WordPress. Have you come across local?
No, I haven't. I knew there was a couple of different solutions for WordPress locally, but I've never used anything. So most of the time, I just manually create a database, which has always been a pain.
Oh, yuck. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, databases rock, but yeah, getting one up every time you need something is a bit painful. What local is made by Flywheel, who are a WordPress hosting bunch of people, who obviously want you ultimately to host your blog with them, and they make it really easy for like interacting with their servers if you were deploying with them. But even if you don't use it, their local development tool is the best I've ever worked with and the easiest I've ever worked with. So this
awesome.
is one I've been working on for a course I'm working on. For Egghead, and what I'm doing is I'm developing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign management tool.
Nice.
That's going to be managed in WordPress. Oh, you've got really small. Sorry, your video's got smaller. Not enough, Colby.
Oh.
That's going to be manage your like party and different assets, and bounce back to be small again. Oh. So that's a plan. And yeah, one of the awesome things about WordPress is that people know it, right? So that our content editors don't need to learn a new technology, and especially if you have a component-driven kind of approach, that I think it's called Egghead/D&D. And the other nice thing about it is, oh nope, I got it wrong, is that it maps to it like interacts with your local host and creates a local URL, which is cool. So eggheaddnd.local. And at the moment, yeah, it's just
I used to have to do so much stuff to get that running. Like I there was this like homebrew package that I found that you can do similar things, and it's being able to do this in one tool is kind of nice.
It's so good. It's got so it sets up the database, it gets the latest version of WordPress, it gets the web server, it interacts with your if you're on Mac, it writes correctly to your etc hosts file. It does like all of the fun things. It does it, which is cool. And then yeah, so I'm pretty sure my admin user's Kevin, and my password is the thing I use for all my passwords, for test passwords. Yes, cool. So
so I should write that down because we were able to see that.
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, it's fine. It's this.
Never mind.
This is a password or something like that. Yeah, it's something very close to that. But yeah, I only ever used it on development sites. So yeah, good luck. But the rest of the time I use one password. So use like I use all my passwords are big, secure, well secure. So what I'm going to do is search for a new plugin, because this will only kind of be useful if we've got a good bit of content in, and I don't really have much content. So what's it called? There's a plugin. Oh, I didn't have. Sorry, there's a question that says we're using 5.42. Did I default to this particular version? Ooh. I think I picked this one, but I think you can pick whichever one you want. If we were to create a new doofdang,
Mm.
we could. Oh, we can either customize everything and set the PHP version, the web server version, and the database version. Ooh, I think we are dropping in and out. Are we a bit laggy?
It seemed all right to
Everyone in
me.
the
Does
chat, are we a
anybody?
bit laggy?
Is it laggy for anybody?
Yeah, I
I look
made you
like I
bigger
went
again.
smaller again, but I think that's totally okay. You
Okay.
can ignore that for now. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a plugin that lets us get.
It's a
It
bit
is a bit
laggy.
laggy. Okay. Um, just give us a second. We will. Let me just try. Right. I think that will hopefully. I'm not dropping any frames anymore. I think I was dropping some frames before. But now I can't hear you. Is your microphone on mute, Colby, or is that me?
Yep, it was
Oh,
muted. Sorry
cool.
about that.
Cool. I was starting to panic. It's all going wrong.
But it's interesting how it keeps making us different sizes.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I don't really know what's going on there, but yeah, you're bigger than me now. It's good. It's good. I like it. I like it. So, random content, WordPress. So, like lorem content generator WordPress. So there's one called Faker
just
Press.
so you, oh, I think you're just oh, were you searching in a different
Oh,
tab?
well, I was
Never
searching
mind.
a different tab. Sorry, I was cheating.
Okay.
Um,
No worries, no worries.
yeah, yeah. So we're going to install some dummy data so I can just I can show you what's going on with here. So
Cool.
we've got so WordPress has got all of our data, and for this project, and I think for what I'm using WordPress for, it's basically the data store. It's where the content's generated. It's where the users who are the like the people who are generally just creating the data are going to be working. So I'm going to create, I don't know, how many posts should be generated? Let's do like 15 posts. More
Sounds good.
more than 15. I don't really care about anything else. So let's generate that. So that's going to generate some amazing content. Hopefully not as good as like the content that you do for dev.to and I do for my blog. I'm sure it won't be anywhere near as good as that, which is great.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. And so when those posts get generated, so we can see some of them have already managed to be here. And we've got some different things in them. We've got some blocks. We've got some different bits that are going on, which is cool. And what I've got going on here is I've got GraphQL running in WordPress, and I've also got Graphical in WordPress as well. So that allows me to be able to kind of explore the data with GraphQL. So I'm able to get like all the posts, and then all the nodes, and then say all the titles from that. Where's T for title? So yeah, so I can get all that. So I'm able then, so before I get to Gatsby and before I get outside WordPress, I can kind of play around with the schema and just check what the data is like and just make sure everything's there, which creates a really, really neat kind of feedback loop to be able to work that through. And then,
That is nice.
yeah, which is cool. And I use there's a plugin that's really common with WordPress developers called ACF, Advanced Custom Fields, that lets you do
Oh
some
yeah.
fun stuff as well. So I use a bit of that in the mix here as well. So it's in WordPress, it's GraphQL'd, There's also a WordPress Gatsby plugin that gets the GraphQL in a shape that Gatsby's going to enjoy, and as it eats it up. Um,
Interesting.
and then if I just load up Gatsby, then where's it going to be? Egghead? Nope, not that one. That one. npm run. Oh, just let me just do a. I can't remember if it's a it's in the top level or not. No, it is. Cool. No, it's not. Sorry, where is the
Is it in the themes? Is it a
No,
theme?
that's as I see that's the WordPress content. It's not the Gatsby bit. So I just want to see
Oh, gotcha.
just check if there's anything Gatsby related in this directory. Oh yeah, D&D Dice Gatsby. That would make sense. Egghead, D&D. I've got a lot of Egghead stuff in here. Cool. And develop. And what this does then is it's using, it seems a bit odd, but the official WordPress or Gatsby suggestion is to use something called Gatsby Source WordPress Experimental, which is actually Gatsby Source WordPress version 4, but they haven't. For some reason, they're trying to migrate away to this new repo. So this will then ingest the Gatsby or the GraphQL from WordPress and build out the pages. And what's awesome about it is that after the build, there's no interaction back to Gatsby at all, or back to WordPress at all. It's completely completely handled. All the data is handled in the WordPress layer. One of the things you can do is copy all the images down to a local store as well, so that the Gatsby or the Jamstack version of it is completely isolated from WordPress, which is cool. Which I think is what we're trying to achieve for Next. That's the difference from what you're trying to do for Next, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh wait. The reason my Gatsby build is seemingly taking longer than normal is that I'd scrolled up a bit. So you can see it gets all of the posts, the media items, and once it finishes building, when you're in develop, it listens to WordPress. So every time a post is created in WordPress, it'll regenerate that post, and you will be able to see it straight away. And so,
That's
which
cool.
is cool. And then, so here's the pages and the data, we can link between them. We can say the next post, which has a picture in it and some other pictures, the next post. So, and all of that is got the loveliness of Gatsby because, it's server-side render, or sorry, it's client-side. It's smooth transitions between posts. It's, there's no full-page reloads. It's got, sorry, you can't see the word next because my face is in the way. So let me move my face out of the way. So yeah, so there's so it's like next to the next post and previous. And you can see at the moment, all it's doing is dumping out the HTML that WordPress does. And what I'm going to do, the next step of what I'll be doing for the course and for this project is to componentize that and to allow, you've got really big again, oh no, to componentize that and allow the styling to be handled on the Gatsby side. So it's literally just a data store that's going on the WordPress side. So that's all kind of by way of introduction to what we want to do today, right? So that's all to say that's what we're doing. That's how we'd achieve it in Gatsby. So we'd use GraphQL. We would get the data into the WordPress GraphQL layer, and then we would be able to work independently from the from WordPress altogether. And at the moment, for next, as far as I can see what we're doing so far, that's not what's happening, is it? We are getting the posts on server side on render, on initial render. Is that right? Or so can you talk me through the process of what's going on there?
Sure.
Do you want to share
So
your
I'm curious.
screen with me?
Do you want
Do
to
you want to
try?
try share your screen, or what do you
Um.
reckon?
Uh.
Is that too much? Do you think that might be
We.
too risky on the?
I'm just not like set up
Okay, yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
No, it's okay. So
But
how about?
I'd be curious if maybe we could your WordPress instance,
Oh yeah,
like even though it's set up for GraphQL,
it
are
has
you
a
still
REST
able
API
to
still.
hit it
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
REST?
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's use your project on that same GraphQL instance. That's a good, or that same WordPress instance. That's a great call.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see like how it if it just
Yep.
works. So the thing that I don't what I was trying to achieve with
Mm-hmm.
mine is like out of the box
Yeah.
WordPress. So like that means it doesn't currently have something like ACF
Yep.
support, though like in my mind, if I keep working
Mm-hmm.
on this, I would imagine maybe making that a plugin or
Yep.
something so that somebody
Yep.
could easily add that.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Cool. So let's. Ooh. Oh, I know what's wrong. Oh. Multi-term.
You and your
Me
fancy
and my
Emacs.
fancy Emacs, I know. And my carabiner and Big Sur don't like each other yet as nice as possible. So I have to every time my computer restarts, I have to oh, I don't want to put it in there. Sorry. Control A, Control U. Ah,
Will's in the
hey,
house.
well, yo. Let me cancel that. Oi, there's a cheat. I'm just going to open a new terminal. Take that. Right, so code, and then let's do in streaming, and then we'll do this, and what we'll call it streaming with Colby. So what we're going to do is see how easy it is to use Colby's project with the WordPress instance that I've got set up on my machine.
And fingers crossed, it is easy.
That's the hope.
But yeah. So what's Carabiner? I haven't heard that one.
Carabiner is like an app to remap keys. So like
Okay.
my caps lock key is if you tap it, it's escape, and if you
Interesting.
hold it down, it's control. Which is, yeah, I like it. Which
Nice.
is more important. Which is important in things like if you're using Emacs like I do, then it's a bit annoying. Or not having that is more challenging because you use control a lot. Cool. So we've got it. Let's open it then. Where are we? Ooh. Let's go to there. And code and streaming with Colby. Yay. Cool.
All right.
So what do we need to configure?
Get started, you should, quote should, only have to go to the nextconfig.js. Yep. And then inside there's a WordPress host that's currently hard-coded. Once I flesh this thing out more, it won't be a hard-coded WordPress server in there, but that's just as I'm kind of working through it. But you should be able to replace that host and give it a go.
Cool. Let's try it. So WordPress host is hard-coded. So our WordPress host is eggheaddnd.local. And I missed it if it had a trailing slash or not. Does it matter?
It does not have a trailing slash. I'm not sure if it matters. I can't remember if I did like a path join on it or if I I'll have to check that too.
Is it run dev or run develop? It's run dev.
Should be run, yeah.
Cool. Okay. So let's see then. Cool.
Fingers crossed.
So localhost 3000. Hey, look at that.
Yeah, nice.
Cool. So all the
Okay, so
posts and all the content that we created. Um, yeah, cool. So
that worked better than I thought it
all
was
I
gonna.
needed to do is put the host name in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like the gist with this here, kind of what I was going before. Like my ultimate goal
Mm-hmm.
for this is to start off with pretty much like a Next.js site. Like if you notice, I tried to use a lot of the same styles, and I don't know if I'm gonna stick with
Mm-hmm.
that or not, because like it doesn't feel as nice with like the blog posts in the
Mm-hmm.
front. But the goal is to take it there and just have like a very simple minimalistic instance of WordPress statically built.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of as you see here, where it pulls in the posts, and I'll add the page content as well. I haven't gotten to the pages yet, but
Yeah.
basically just like a out of the box WordPress instance that you can extend and do what you
Yeah.
want with.
That is super cool. And so all the styling is being handled in Next. Are you ignoring the HTML? Or are
Yep.
you pulling down all? So how's that working? Are you pulling down the HTML content from WordPress, or just the content, or the words and pictures and things, or are you just pulling it down as a blob?
So we can open up this
Mm,
source if you're interested to dive in a
I
little bit.
am.
So for the I think you would want to go to pages, I think, and then for the post specifically, we can go into posts and then the slug
Cool.
name.
So this is
Um,
Next's dynamic routing. We use square brackets around a
yeah.
word, and then we can use that word in the file as that variable slug. Then we passed in on the router.query. Just,
And that's because we don't know what the posts will be ahead of
mhm.
time until we pull down that content and render out the different
Yeah,
paths.
yeah, cool. So,
So starting to
mhm,
walk through this a little bit, I'm a Sass guy, but I've also been really enjoying the modules approach. So I've been kind of mixing those worlds, and I'm still not 100% happy with my implementation yet. But I've been learning bits
mhm,
and pieces as I've been going
mhm,
through. But that said, like I've been creating like the modules at a top level, and then each component will have its own module. That way, it's all encapsulated, but I can still take
mhm,
advantage of some of the features that make Sass great. That's for the
yeah,
styles. Now, I think for this particular file, I might as well just open up my ID at the same time. Um, if you go to the bottom, that's going to be the important bit about how these pages are going to be
yeah,
rendered. So in this particular instance, the actual request is abstracted away,
yeah,
but get static paths is what we're going to be able to use to make a
mhm,
request and then try to figure out what those paths are going to be for our dynamic
mhm,
page. That way we can tell Next.js that for each of those slugs, there's going to be a page at that particular
yeah,
path. So what that get posts function does is pretty much just makes a request to the WordPress API. So if you wanted to see that, I think that's in
lib
lib.
posts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And most of this is just functions that I just wrapped with request
Yeah.
logic um, to make it easy to kind of plug and play a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these different pathings. So yeah, it goes out, it requests the JSON API, and maybe that would be worth bringing up too to kind of show what
Mm-hmm.
that looks like.
So if I get http dnd.local slash wp. Oh, I can never quite remember this off the top of my head.
I think it's WP content
WP v2
or WP JSON. I'm sorry.
WP dice JSON, is it? And then is it W2P v2 posts? Is that?
I think there's the WP JSON in front of the WP, if I'm not
Awesome.
mistaken. Like yeah, with a dash in the middle.
Nice. Hey, cool. So then
I
we're
got it.
getting a
Nice. Okay.
JSON object which has the rendered post. So you can see it includes
Mm-hmm.
escaped HTML for quotes, for links. And we've got some other information. We've got the excerpt, so we're able to use that if you wanted to summarize the blog. And we get a lot of other sort of information that's contained on the post.
Yeah.
And
So that's exactly what I use. I
Mhm.
dangerously set the HTML, the
Ooh,
prop name.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah,
Uh, um, but I don't know if there's a different way. Is that how they do it in Gatsby? Because
that
I'm
is
not
like
familiar with a different way.
yeah. So that would be like the first way to do it for sure. Would be to do that. But after that, I guess you're so each of these is not so. At the moment, it's a big blob of HTML. What
Hmm.
we can also do is and I think we can do this on the, we can get the blocks that make up that HTML and then handle those blocks separately and style those blocks ourselves.
Okay.
So we're then able to say, right, hey, they've used a list component in the Gutenberg editor, and then map that in our Jamstack to say, hey, for lists, get the data. I don't care about any of the styling, just the data, and I'm going to style that. I'm going to do what I do with lists on that, so I'm going to work
Okay.
that through. So yeah, what I want to know is, can I get WordPress Gutenberg blocks with the REST API? Because I've been doing it with GraphQL recently. So,
So I saw
oh,
there was a blocks endpoint,
hmm
but I wasn't really sure. I'm not familiar with that part of it yet, so I wasn't sure how to actually go about using it
oh, cool. Is it
and
just
what the
for?
implementation
Is it
was.
just? So yeah. So they're actually, since I've got GraphQL working here, I can show you the blocks that exist in my instance. Blip, 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 blip. I think if I go I go posts, nodes, blocks, JSON. So like the difference between actually that's less helpful if I do blocks and then their names. That'll probably be more helpful. So now what I get is the name of the blocks that were used for each of the posts. So actually you can see this one was actually just one called Freeform. So I would
Mhm.
probably not make that available to my content editors, because the only way I'd be able to get that out is you do dangerously set HTML, because it can have anything in the mix of it. But
Gotcha.
you can have, like, if you see all of the blocks that are available, by default there's things like image block, core heading block, a gallery block, a list block, a quote block, and you can say to you can limit your content editors to just use those blocks. And then what your next instance would do would go say, find the pages, and then for each page find the blocks, and then because the blocks also have the order they come in, and then it'll be able to say,
Mm,
right, this is an image block. What do we do with image blocks? This is and have like a mapper component that is mapping each of the Gutenberg blocks with the with how you want to style them and next, which is cool. But
yeah.
I think there's some blocks that just wouldn't be fun to use, like this freeform block, for example, because literally that can have anything, and therefore it's going to be a lot more challenging to get useful stuff out of it. But
Right.
if we had something, if we created a post of our own, another post called "Having Fun on Stream," and added so these are the blocks. So we add a quote and say, streaming with Colby is fun, from Kevin, and I'll publish that. And if I then go back into my admin menu, and we go back to our GraphQL, so you can see that was a core quote. So that was using a quote block. So I'm able then I would have a style for that quote block. But this is, I guess, the implementation that we're talking about still, we still haven't got over that this is server side rather than statically built. It's not right. So at the moment, that would open stuff up, but it would still be a server side. It would still be on render on the first render.
Wait, you're talking about mine, right?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I'm talking about yours.
No, it is statically
Oh, cool.
driven. Yeah, it's just when you're loading that page in your browser, it has to render that page through Next. But when you actually run the build and the export commands, it will build it out
Oh,
statically.
cool.
So I think if you wanted to look, I think I have a yeah, I do have a demo. Like the demo for it on the GitHub is pointing to Netlify. So like that speaks for itself.
Yep.
That it's static, right?
Yep. No, absolutely. Excuse me. Let's see. This is in this is in
Do I not have the link at the top left or top right? Yeah, at the top right sidebar.
on the sidebar. Ah, in the sidebar.
Yeah, they moved it a little bit ago, and yeah, it's confusing. But yeah, that's on Netlify.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I guess then, so what we would do is we would want to get the identifier for each post and then get the blocks for that post. And then because what the benefit of that is we can then get so can I, if I just do blocks, it may ask me for, it probably wants me to query that in some special way. So I was reading I was cheating and reading a blog post a second ago. Ba, 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 ba. La, 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 la. Nope. Nope.
So are you familiar with because Gatsby's doing a blocks UI library, aren't
Yeah,
they?
that's a different thing, isn't it? So that's with
I was wondering if there was any relation.
I don't think so. I think it's just as a concept building stuff up
Gotcha.
with blocks. I think it's more that than a an over like something that they're doing together.
Gotcha.
So I'm just trying to cheat here and find
No worries.
some code would be nice. Get post by parse blocks, post content. So when we get the pages, what do we get? We get it's good, and it's ID. What we want to do, I guess, is to say for that post, or post. Sorry, I should be doing posts. For that post, can we get a can we get the blocks that are for it, right? Because in the moment you're getting all the posts by slug, and is that getting all of that data that is in that JSON response
that you're seeing there?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just it should be just filtered on that.
Oh, cool.
And I wonder if it's in one of those links at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm just
which I think you're looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got the curries. Don't know what that is. Taxonomies, terms, attachments, predecessors, replies, author, about, collection, and self.
I would have guessed it would be in there.
Yeah. I wonder if we take the self and did like a / blocks. Wonder if this is smart enough to ignore my escape characters.
Those. Oh yeah.
I was wondering if it would be.
I think that URL is the same. If you wanted to. No.
Oh, you're right.
I was gonna say, yeah.
That would be much easier. It's just adding the number on the end. I enjoy deleting things too much, Colby. That's my problem. Okay, so for a given post,
Let's see.
we get its content, excerpt, and again, so we're not getting anything new. It may be that we have to like turn it on. It may be that by default Gutenberg blocks aren't available in the REST API. Zephyn's just there's a question in the chat that says, what's the initial motivation for decoupling WordPress and strapping on Next?
So the goal is to try to like Jamstack generally, as opposed to like a serverful concept, is like the idea is that you're providing static content, and it's going to be served typically from a CDN, where it's going to be really fast, it's going to be reliable, and you're going to have a lot less moving pieces, like when a server is rendering the content and serving it to somebody, as opposed to getting served straight from the API. So there's a little bit of simplicity with that, but it's also infinitely scalable, which is kind of a buzzword, but it's kind of true, because when you're serving it out of static storage, no matter how many people are hitting it, like you're going to be sure that you're going to be able to serve that to somebody. Whereas something with the serverful approach, if you have a WordPress post that goes viral and you're serving it straight from WordPress, there's a good chance that it could take down the site. Depending on the infrastructure that's behind that site. But a lot of the times, it's not set up to handle that kind of surge.
Yeah.
Do you think that answer gave that justice?
I think that's definitely true. I mean, I guess what we're doing is we're saying that there won't be any database, so scaling becomes is really great. And one of the great things about WordPress is that it's used in lots of places. People are familiar with it. It's got a great it's a great helpful thing to be able to do. One of the disadvantages of that is that when there's a security issue with WordPress, like we've seen a few times, that your site is immediately vulnerable, and every script kiddie is able to just have a go at trying to break your site and that becomes more and more of a potentially an issue. Yeah, so as Evan says, the client-driven demand for a familiar CMS, exactly. So for my use case that I was just talking to Colby about earlier, it was exactly that the client wanted WordPress for their content team, but they wanted the actual final product to be able to sit safely apart from the rest of their infrastructure on the CDN. So exactly, it was a familiar CMS while having
And
benefits.
And familiarity is definitely important, but I don't think in my opinion, I don't think it's only familiarity, because I still believe that WordPress has one of the better publishing platforms for non-technical people, even if they're completely new to it. Whereas a lot of the other headless CMSs, which are super great and are really powerful, but they're a little bit more developer focused, which if only developers are going to use it, that's fine. But a lot of times when you're developing for clients, you're going to be developing for somebody that's not technical, and you don't want them to have to struggle to be able to manage their own content.
Sorry, I'm stealing a snippet of PHP to try to expose the Gutenberg blocks, and
So you have to actually.
It looks like you have to
change
actually
it
you specifically expose it. So I've just found this when the API inits get all of the get the posts and then add on this blocks bit, but I can't see what's wrong. So I'm quickly trying to go
So before you go down too far, can you try in your request? Can you just instead of /posts, can you do /blocks
there?
Because the REST API reference makes it look like that. Well, without the ID.
Okay. So it's giving me an empty array.
Okay.
So what is that? So
maybe it gives an empty. I can send you the link that I'm
cool.
looking
That'd be
at,
awesome.
because it makes it seem like that should exist, unless the issue is exposing it like you're getting at. But the link makes me think that it should be available already. Oh yeah, and for sure with StackBit. Yeah, I haven't actually used their studio yet, but when I saw the preview for it, like, it looked really cool, and definitely what they're trying to solve.
So yeah, so we're getting blocks by ID. And what is the ID? Query this. The ID.
I wonder if you need to pass in that context. So maybe like
it's a post?
Adding a argument. Oh, it is a post. That's strange. Oh no, there's a guest in there too, for listening to editor blocks. But I wonder if you need to pass a context.
Okay.
Do you want to put like a question mark context equals view and see if that? Nope.
What's the ID? The ID is a unique identifier of the object. global identifier object is the good. So
Is it published, the
the posts,
the block that you did it
yeah.
for?
Well, so the
Yeah.
posts, all of these guys are published.
Okay.
And this post has an ID of 224, so we can like get that post. But the blocks, I guess, are numbered separately as well. The blocks themselves are. So I think that's that's the thing that we need to add. So we can query individual blocks and we go, hey, give me block 4061, but we need to add into this JSON request the reference to the block so that we know which blocks belong to which post. Yeah, which we can do, but GraphQL is easier. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can, if that's too much, we can move on to a different part if you want.
We can try to do it.
Because I'd be interested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'd be interested to show you the search stuff.
Oh yeah,
too,
yeah. So I guess like this, I'll have a look at this code and like I'll post up I'll fix it and off camera and I'll have a look at it, because then we'll be able to.
Do you think it's worth trying to move to like a GraphQL based API?
There's a lot.
Like I'm still not familiar with GraphQL enough to say that I can. I'm still not familiar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The nice thing, I mean, GraphQL solves a lot of problems and creates some other problems, right? So, it solves one of the things it does is we only fetch the data we want. The data we get back is in the same shape we request. Things sort of add together. And then the thing that we're talking about here is that we would be able to handle in a single request. So at the moment, what I'm imagining is going to need to happen during the build is we request all the posts and find out the blocks that are associated with each of those posts. And then for each post, we then are going to iterate over the blocks that belong to that post and get the blocks back, and then fill out the blocks. So in a REST scenario, that's like an n+1 requests, isn't it? It's the it's the initial, and then for every post. For GraphQL, you say, give me the post with its associated blocks, and that's in a single query. So that's quite nice.
Sure.
But yeah, it and because WordPress supports it, and because you can have we can use GraphQL with are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I wasn't sure if it was my internet or your internet, but
I don't know. No, yeah, okay, sorry. I noticed the my OBS suddenly went red and went down to 0. So sorry if we're a bit. Sorry. Anyway,
I think we're back.
we can use GraphQL, and I would say for this kind of thing, it probably is useful for it. But the reality is that with something like this, we're building and walking away, right? So actually, if it takes a while to build, that's not the end of the world, because the client's not eating that. It's the developer and the build process that's going to be eating up that time. So it's not the end of the world if it takes, if we have to query every post individually. It's not. So like adding the complexity of learning GraphQL on top of it maybe is too much for this particular run through, but then maybe that it's worth having a think about for a next iteration.
Yeah, I love that idea. Because there are different complexities that I've ran into. Like one thing is like you can't, with the REST API, you can't hit all the posts at once. So as you'll see in some of my search logic, that if that's what we're gonna go through next, I have to do a loop to make sure I hit every single post. Otherwise, it maxes out, I think, at like 100, or is it 50? But I wonder if that's solved with GraphQL, for instance. And it seems like it'd be more straightforward.
Yeah, I think what GraphQL will do. It's interesting. So obviously with Gatsby, GraphQL does the thing where it basically consumes all of WordPress's GraphQL and creates its own GraphQL, and so then every
Mm,
search is done on locally held data, and so that's fine. So
that's interesting.
it's got its own copy of all of the data, so it can do whatever mutations and flipping around with that data it wants to do. Whereas
Mm,
obviously in this instance, you're not going to pull down everything that exists in that WordPress instance into
right.
like some kind of local store for the build. You're going to grab what you need as you need it. So yeah, it's a whole. So I wonder how, because I want, does the GraphQL client separate from Gatsby? Because my experience with GraphQL is just with Gatsby. So what I
Yeah.
don't know is, does a GraphQL client that's not Gatsby do that same thing? Does it create its local version of the GraphQL, or does it just interact with? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I'm not. I'm in the same boat as you,
Yeah.
but I think that would be an awesome next stream that we could consider doing
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to figure that out.
So talk to me about search, because at the moment
Sure.
we have sorry, let's go to code streaming. Streaming with Colby. So yeah, so at the moment, can we search in this at the moment? Is there any search going on here? Oh, this is your
It's not currently set up.
okay.
Um, what I do have set up is I was trying to solve being able to search the WordPress site without having to actually hit the WordPress endpoint because
Mm-hmm.
WordPress does provide that as a REST
Mm-hmm.
endpoint, but the goal here is to ultimately not have to hit WordPress at all.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I tried to figure out how to like where it made more sense to do this, and I've seen some people do something similar with build
Mm-hmm.
scripts, like post build or pre build scripts with npm.
Yep.
But what I went with was a webpack compiler, which
Obviously.
serves as a Next.js plugin. So we can see the entry point for that in the nextconfig.js, or we can look at it there. So the way that it, oh, sorry, I was on the stream,
Oh yeah.
the Twitch feed.
You actually have. You should be
Yes,
able to see my screen live as opposed
I
to.
keep go. Yeah, I know. I keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
I keep it. So the way that this works is, from my understanding, plugins are basically plugins can be not WordPress,
Next.
Webpack plugins. So what I'm basically doing here is creating a next plugin, which is called the index search. And now if we want to go to plugins/index search,
This one.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, search index.
That's
Sorry.
okay. I was getting confused. That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here is, of course, we have our abstracted away what the stuff that's actually happening, and we'll go through that in a second here. But we see that we're running Webpack, and we're pushing a new plugin to that configuration. So we are creating a next plugin, but in essence, we're creating a new Webpack plugin as a next plugin, if that makes sense.
Ooh,
So
tell me that
here,
again.
so we're creating a next plugin, but in essence, we're creating a Webpack plugin, because the way that this particular next plugin works is that it's a Webpack plugin.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I think so.
Okay.
I've never
I
built the Webpack plugin before, so
Me neither. This
okay.
was my first
Oh,
time.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I had to kind of learn through it, and it's interesting, because you have to. So the way that the Webpack plugins work, or like just the general life cycle of it, is there's a bunch of different entry points that you can they call it tap, that you kind of tap into, so that you can add your logic wherever you want throughout that life cycle, whether it's like before the assets are created, after the assets are created,
Okay.
so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So
So they were
if
too
you want, we
cool to
can.
use the word hook. Is that what we're saying? They were tapping.
Well, I think they use the word hook. I think you're tapping into hooks.
Oh wow. Okay. Sorry.
As I said, this is the first time I wrote a Webpack plugin, so I excuse
No, it's great. You're
the
definitely.
wording.
So this is the
Um,
search index compiler. So this is your Webpack
yep,
plugin, and you're using
yep,
classes. I haven't seen a class in a long time, Colby. It's cool.
yeah. So that's the general syntax that you see, or that I've seen a
Mm-hmm.
lot with Webpack plugins. Now, compilers specifically. So from my understanding, there's differences between a compiler and yeah, forgetting what the other term is, but there's different types of Webpack plugins, and the compiler is because well, we're compiling a JSON file that includes our search instance. So if you scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see an apply method, and in that apply method, that's where, so when we apply our plugin on that previous file that we were in, when we're pushing it to that config of plugins, it's going to run the supply function.
Okay.
When we run the supply function, we're going to tap into that specific hook from the compiler. So in this particular instance, we're looking for the hook called run, and we're tapping into that with this plugin. We're also, in this instance, hooking into the watch run hook as well. And the reason we're doing that is, as you can see in the comments, one is for the actual build process and one is for the actual development server process. Otherwise, it wouldn't run. You have to do both. And from my understanding, you have to do both in order to get it to work on both. So I'm literally just copying the same function between the two, but plugging into both of them.
Cool.
So what happens is, when it gets to that point in the life cycle of Webpack, it'll run our asynchronous function here and pass in the compilation as an argument, and then we'll run our logic that indexes everything.
And so compilation is
that's an object from Webpack that includes a bunch of information, configuration. I don't know that I'm actually using that at all in my plugin, because what I'm doing, like the goal was that I'm going to take the WordPress content, so it reaches out and grabs all the posts, and then it creates a search index based off of those posts. So if we scroll up a little bit here,
so we're calling. I note that we're calling. So we've got this asynchronous function that's taking the compilation, and then we're calling and awaiting on the index within this class, passing the compilation and the options that are also within this class. We're passing that up. So we're going to look at the index function now to see what's happening.
Let's look at the index function.
Cool. Cool. So we've got our index function here, which is taking the posts, which are exactly that same JSON object that we had in our Insomnia instance earlier. Is that right?
Yep, straight from the REST API.
So it's coming straight from here. It's getting that, and it's mapping them and just getting the title, the slug, and the date.
Just so you know, there it is. Never mind. It wasn't showing it for a second. So it looks like I didn't actually put the logic for the looping through in this one yet. I need to still do that. But yeah, it goes through and it creates an array that has those three aspects to it. Now, the reason I did those particular things is I figured title, that's what you want searchable. Slug, that way you can know where to point to. Date, I'm not sure if date will be usable, but I kind of saw it as an identifier that might be useful in some contexts. So maybe not.
I mean, I guess
I know
slugs,
it also.
Sorry, I was just thinking about like uniquely identifiable data. So I guess slug is going to be uniquely identifiable. It should be, otherwise there's going to be issues, right?
But something it could be helpful for is if you want to show like the most recent posts when you're indexing or something like that as another way to filter your search. But at any rate, one thing you'll notice that's not in here is the content. And the reason is because the idea is that this would be loaded from the client. So that file would be big. So it's kind of defeating the purpose. But I still would like to figure out a solution that might be able to utilize that a little bit better. And it looks like Fabio was asking about the categories and tags. And yeah, absolutely. I think as I build this out more and get more advanced with the searches, categories and tags would absolutely be useful. I don't think I even added any categories and tags to the posts in my test WordPress instance yet.
I have.
So this is still very early, just to be clear.
It's another call, which is it's slightly annoying because we need to. So like if I wanted to get the categories of post 224. So I need to call out to find the categories that that's in. So it's uncategorized at the moment. But yeah, but so that would mean your call in your here would need in your search index compiler would need to
Yeah.
do multiple calls to build up a bigger object in order to do that. But yeah,
So there's another instance of where GraphQL would probably be a little bit more handy,
yep,
right?
yep, exactly.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like if we were to add that in this particular instance, yeah, we would, as we're looping through those, we'd probably want to also make a request to this categories. So that'd probably be smart to do after we do the GraphQL.
Yeah. One step at a time, right?
Yep. But so what this does is whenever that part of the webpack it grabs those, dumps that array as JSON into that file. So if you want to check that out, it should be in the public directory because you did run this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So yeah, I've went into my public directory. I've got search.json, and it tells me when it was generated. It gives me a nice epoch date. And then the posts are an array would have the title, the slug, and the date.
Awesome.
Cool.
I think the just so the Skype is a little bit behind, so if I don't answer right away, that's why.
Okay, not that you hate me.
I can hear you immediately.
No,
The
hate
screen
me, I
just
mean.
sometimes takes a little second. Oh, yeah. But yeah, so there we go. It's not pretty. It's minimized. It's minified.
Nice.
But it gets the job done. So at this point, since we have that available, we can grab that from the file system. We can either import that at compile time, just like any other data source or file, and then it would be stored in memory. Or otherwise, since we are dumping it in the public directory, we're able to query that as a request right on the client. So the way that I imagine it is it would probably make sense to load it into memory since it's relatively small and it's not really going to add a lot. But maybe as somebody's site progresses, as it gets bigger, it might make more sense to include it as a client-side request. And especially as complexity grows on a website, it might even make more sense to start including that as part of like a Lambda using Next. But the goal here is statically driven.
Yep. So will we? So at the moment, you haven't built the search component yet?
No, I haven't built the search component. So if we want to try and give that a little bit of a go,
yeah, will we? Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's just create a file rather than that. So how do you? Okay,
so you could probably just like duplicate one of those directories, or if we want to just throw it in the nav, like that'd probably be fine.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's cheat. So the nav at the moment has. Let's get it up here. So it just has the link to the home page up at the top, and does not appear on the home. Oh, right. Okay. So, but it only appears on a blog.
Do I not have it there?
I think it only appears in a blog post. That's fine. Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
Okay. So will we? I don't know. We put a set search thing going on here for use state, and add a little. This is where my amazing front end skills are going to come in, Colby. You're going to be amazed at my amazing front end skills.
I'm already amazed.
Yeah. So I'm going to put another paragraph where I'm going to put an input, which is going to be a text input, which is going to have a value of search, and then on change is going to set search. And okay, I'll just cheat again. Amazing. Oh, it's on. Must be on a
it might be Flexbox. Yeah. But I think that's totally fine for our purposes, though. Yeah.
And then just so we know it's working, let's console log that search. Okay, cool. So we need to do. So we're getting the event rather than the value. So e.target value. Let's try that now. A, B, C. Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we have a search term. So we're capturing the search, but what are we going to do with that? So I'm tempted to reach for Fuse. Is that something is that what you would reach for here, or what would you, or would you just parse the JSON and do like a filter on the JSON? That's probably a much easier and quicker way. Yeah.
So let's do that first, and then if we have time, we can roll into Fuse, because I love Fuse, and I think that it powers up client-side search tremendously. But just to get this started, I think we can roll with just the string match on it.
Let's call it search index from, and where are we? So that's going to get me to pages. That's going to get me to, I think that's going to get me there. And so I want to go to public / search.json. And then let's just double check that we have a search index. No. Too far down? Too far up?
So in the nav, going up to
hey,
client one.
Oh,
you got it? Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Okay, right.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, as people can see, like we were able to import that directly into our React app, and now we have that full index available as an array.
What's causing this re-render?
Something was causing a re-render?
Well, it seems to be caught in a re-render loop for some reason. Let me refresh this. Let me go somewhere else.
Is it still doing it?
Yeah. That's odd.
I'm not seeing where it's doing.
Sorry, yeah. So so if I go here, so you can see the like this little Vercel symbol is like when it's like doing a hot reload. So for some reason it's deciding to just keep doing a hot reload. Is that because of that JSON file? Is
strange.
that is the Oh, I know what's happening. So our Webpack plugin is because it's on watch run. Our Webpack plugin is consistently running, and so that JSON file's consistently being updated, and so therefore it's triggering a re-render every time that JSON file's being. Is that true? Because on watch run.
It could be. I'm not sure. I thought I was testing around and I was able to successfully import it, but maybe not.
I have imported it, but it's not. It's still re-rendering on every cycle.
That's interesting. Well, is it now?
Yeah.
Still?
So I wonder if I just for the moment was to for the moment in our plugin for our compiler, if I was just to comment out the watch run tap, and see, I don't know whether or not I need to restart next.
I think because it's Webpack, you would need to
restart it. Yeah, that would be my guess as well. Okay, so let's restart. Where are you? Oops. I just need to find my terminal. So yeah, like okay, so my theory is that this is going to.
So I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious as to why it would be doing that if that is the case, because so like the Webpack dev run, like that runs when a file is saved.
Yeah.
And does it trigger a change on that file?
So I think what's happening, what's happening is it's so saving the initial file is triggering a rebuild. But on that rebuild, the JSON file is refetched and reformed, which because it's being imported into the component is then triggering a new build. and then it's so yeah,
That's funny.
so it's infinite looping.
So I'll have to figure that out then. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it's yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? We actually only want that to
Yeah.
run once potentially at the start of the
Yep.
build. But yeah, that's but yeah, so that has fixed whatever that problem was. That seems to have done the job. Yes, Fabio,
Yeah.
it is Emacs. I'm just showing off because I love Emacs. Sorry. Cool. So we have now we have our data and we have our search term. So we could, for the moment, we could, how will we do this? Console log it, or we just start with console log and then, or, so what we want, const results, set results. Was this how you would do it?
Yeah, I think. Well, you know what? Since we are doing a simple string match, we probably don't even need to do results, right? Because we could just do a filter directly on that search index.
True fact. So let's do search index dot filter, and are we just going to assume that we're searching the title? Yeah. So title.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So item and item dot title dot includes search.
And just so you know, I think that's going to want to be search index dot items, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even not.
Oh, sorry, posts. It's yeah.
Hey, cool. So
Awesome.
an empty search term is giving us all 10. We see having fun on stream. So having gives us nothing because it doesn't have a capital H.
String match.
String match. Oh, what? So instead of includes, I should be doing string match. Really? I don't know string match.
Oh no. I was just saying like darn string match.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's. But what we can do is
regex,
we can.
Couldn't we?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say yeah, totally. But I was gonna say that we could do two lowercase on that.
Oh yeah, that's true. So dot two lowercase.
We'd probably want to also make the
term.
Exactly. Yeah.
Two lowercase.
And normally, if you're doing this request logic, you probably want to make it smarter than just doing it inline, because that way you can be a little bit more protective with having invalid types, so that you're not running two lowercase. I'm a little bit overprotective with my data types. That's just me. I like to make sure that there's no chance that it's gonna error out because of a two lowercase on an invalid object item.
Yep. So I normally just like put question marks everywhere for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are great
for optional chaining, just to knock those out. Cool. So,
interestingly, I can't use those at work just because one of the build processes that it goes through doesn't support it yet. But I love optional chaining.
So does that mean you lean into Lodash, or?
Oh no, I just like in this instance, I might do like item and item title.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So we have our search working, which is cool, and that's completely separate from hitting WordPress. We're just using that JSON file that was generated, which is awesome. And it's appearing in the console, so I guess that's probably not what we want to do.
For these purposes, we can just create like a list item, or like an unordered list in the top there, just for the proof of concept.
Yeah. So let's. I'm gonna like cheat because I don't want this to be flex.
Fair enough.
So then I'll do my unordered list, and I will do for the, what are we calling them? Oh yeah, so we need to call this something, right? So we need to so do I need to do a use effect that will update when search changes, or just take this?
No, because it should. Because the component will automatically re-render, or not automatically, but each time you set your new search query, your component's going to render. And when that renders, you can grab that search term straight from that. So you can do that right in line with the render, which is awesome.
So let's take the results and not the whatever that said. take the results and map over those. And for each item, I want to return a list item, which is going to have the item dot title, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Cool. Okay, so if there's an empty search term, we get all 10 posts. And now I can't see my search bar.
Looks beautiful.
You see? Who said I wasn't amazing at front end? Whoever it was needs to, yeah.
I probably have a fixed height on the nav if you want to just comment that out.
Oh yeah,
for
let's
now.
get rid of your like styles. Who cares about styles?
Yeah.
There, that's better. That looks much better already.
Yeah. Lovely.
So fun, having fun on stream. Audit. Cool.
Awesome.
And then what would be even cooler is if these were so there's slugs. We've got slugs and it's posts, right? So if these were next links, so what do we got? We got to import link from next link, and then we're going to say, hey, next, this is a link, and its href is it is HTTP.
Well, yes. I don't think you even need to do that, right? So you want to do just slash posts
/ this thing. Yep.
Yeah, because then it'll kick in the client-side routing, which is nice.
So item.slug. And then it should be a link to, and actually it should be a li as well.
And do you have to nest the A element? I wasn't ever sure about that.
I think
link.
you used to have to. I don't think you do at the moment. I think they have made it better on that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so having fun on
they look like links.
Oh, what's happened there?
No.
Oh, I forgot to put $1 in front of that. Duh. Duh, Kevin. Let's try that again. Oh, it's forgotten. It's trying to style things again, Colby. What's it trying to do?
What is it trying to do?
So yes, I don't know.
Well, it still works.
Cool. We've got
that was strange.
Quidem Dolore. Clicking on that brings me to Quidem Dolore. Yay!
Awesome.
Cool.
And just to reiterate for those watching, like we're doing this all static, right? So we're not actually making any server requests to be able to fulfill this this search aspect for this WordPress site.
So here's the network tab. So yeah, as we're sort of going Quidem and then clicking on our post, we are getting.
Well, that's just the server.
Yeah.
The Next.js.
The Next.js build server. If it was built out, then it wouldn't there. Yeah, cool.
And yeah, Fabio, I agree. It was the nesting wasn't the most fun thing. They've been the one thing that I've noticed with Next.js is like they keep improving their API, and it's been really great to watch.
Rate, right? Like it's been really cool to like, because I started developing with Next about a year ago, and it's definitely like it's got much better even than that year.
Yeah,
which is cool. Cool. So so at the moment all of our search is kind of like it's based on lowercase. You have to have exact things going on, and Colby and I were both mentioning a JS library called Fuse.js, and Fuse.js is really cool because it allows you to do fuzzy searching. So if you misspelt a word or you got close to it, then you're able to give really helpful. You're able to handle search in a much richer way. So Fuse.js would ingest our search.json, and then we'd be able to search fuzzily on it as well, which is really cool. Yeah, so Fabio, that's right. The JSON's being created on build. So by the time the client gets it, they just get that ready to go, which is cool.
And the way we're currently using it, we're importing it so that it gets stored within the client code, as opposed to fetching it asynchronously.
Yeah, and I guess we've sort of been saying, as it got bigger, we'd probably need to look for different strategies. So maybe fetching it.
But it'd probably have to get pretty big before it becomes an actual issue. Yeah.
You need to be writing as much as Colby writes for it to be an issue. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So
So we're gonna give Fuse a
So
shot.
we give Fuse a shot. Let's do it. So let's install it. Multi-term.
Man, fancy.
Fancy. So yeah, let's come up 3 levels and npm install. Is it Fuse.js or is Fuse?
I have to look actually.
I was trying to scroll on OBS as opposed to on the real thing. So
Yeah, it looks like it's
Fuse.js.
Fuse.js. Yeah.
Install Fuse. Oh, I'm using npm. Does that make me a bad person, Colby? Are you?
No, it's completely fine. It's funny because people always ask why I still use Yarn, and like I really don't have a great answer anymore because npm has caught up, but I still enjoy the Yarn API. So I really don't have a reason to switch right now.
It's fair enough.
Yeah, Fuse is really great. It's really easy to use. If someone is interested in getting started, of course we're going to do it now, but I also have a nice little tutorial if anybody is interested.
Plug that content.
Gotta. I'll even include the link if I can find it.
Look at that. Look at that.
I gotcha.
Cool. Right. So now we were in our nav component, right? Let's go to nav. Cool. So I'm gonna follow the tutorial, or you can help me. So I'm gonna go import Fuse.
A little bit of both.
Import Fuse from Fuse.js. Cool. Got that bit.
Yeah. So, so the first thing we're going to want to do is create a Fuse instance. So the way that we can do that, you can either, I don't know if you want to just listen to me tell you what to do, or if you want to. Okay. So the first thing we can do is, so create a new Fuse instance. I don't know if you want to just call it constant Fuse, and then it's going to be equal to new Fuse with capital F. Yep. And then the first thing we're going to want to pass in is our data. So we could probably pass in search index.posts. And then the second argument is going to be our options, which is an object. And there we're going to want to specify our keys, which is going to be an array of strings.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll use title, since that's what we're going to make searchable.
So what does that look like? So does that mean the key? Sorry, so title is our, like that?
Yep. Oh, no, sorry. So literally keys as the property name. Yeah. And that's going to be an array. You're going to want to make that an array with the string title. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So now we have a Fuse instance. And the nice thing is I haven't actually used it like this before, but because you can use Fuse on like Node.js, we should be able to reference it right outside of the page component like that. Whereas some libraries, if they rely on the window, that might cause an error, right? But because this should be good to go. So now that we have Fuse, let's see here. We can use that Fuse instance, and instead of that, we can run fuse.search. And then we can put our search term in there. The one caveat with that, though, is that it's going to actually return an object that includes the results. So I'm trying to figure out the shape. If you want, you can just console log out that results object so we can see what that looks like.
I got something.
It's probably because it's not in the right shape for the elements that we're trying to show.
So it comes out as 0, then the item. Yep. So it comes out as an array and then the item. So actually we want that to be...
well, so what you can probably do is if you want to put an optional chain there and then just run a map function that returns the item. Yep. That way we'll have an array of our array will look just like it did before.
That
item. Yeah.
So So empty search, interestingly, it returns an empty object for empty search rather than everything.
I guess it
Yeah,
does.
because then when we've got, so yep, so
I feel okay, yeah, so that's right. So when I did that before, what I ended up doing was bypassing the Fuse search if the search term
empty,
was
yeah,
empty. We don't have to do this right
yeah,
this second, but that way you can show the full list unless you do have a
yeah,
search
yeah,
term.
yeah, cool. So let's see, so this has quad in it. So if we do quid, we still get that because it has quad in it. So we've got a mismatch of one character and we're able to get there.
Yep.
Um,
And if you notice, it'll still return it in the order of the relevancy. So as we see in the first, we still have
yeah,
quid in there, where it's an
yeah.
exact match, as opposed to quad, which is a close match. If you look in the, can you open up one of those arrays in
Does
the
it have the
console?
score? Oh, I love scores.
It
But
should.
we might have
Okay,
lost it because we're so if we
so so what you actually need to do is in that options object at
yeah,
the top where we pass in those
yeah,
keys, you want to include a property called include score, camel case, and then set that to true.
not try.
We're
We're
trying to
trying to be
true.
true. Okay, so we. So is it because it's
It might
one
be
level
stripped,
up?
yeah.
So if I
It might
so
be.
if I do like results equal that,
Yeah.
and actually I'll call that like raw results.
Sure. Yeah.
So results equals raw results, and so then we can see results and raw results. Cool. So let's see. The raw results are not that one. They're this one. And so for each item, you see you got
Yep.
the score, and you see the the higher the score, the more relevant the search was. Um,
Yep.
and so as they've come back,
Actually, I think it's weird. I think it's the
is it the
lower the
lower the
score.
score?
Uh, I
Oh,
don't
that's
know
interesting. Yeah,
why,
yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
with yeah. Well, because I've done this before. We chatted. We've chatted search before because we're cool like that. And I was talking to you about solar, and yeah, solar is
Hmm.
it definitely gets high scores for goodness. But
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't
it's
know,
an
but
interesting decision. So hey, look at that. We have introduced a fuzzy search, um, on a statically built site that was
yep.
pretty. Well, wasn't like that wasn't very hard. Like you've done all the work for us, to be
Yeah.
fair. But yeah, that's amazing.
And the cool thing with Fuse is like you have a lot of options that you can pass in. So like if you wanted to change how it matches things, like for instance, like I'm looking at the
Hmm.
options right now. Like one of them is case sensitive. Like if we wanted to make it case sensitive, we can absolutely do that. Um, where by default it's not. But there's a lot of characteristics about Fuse that you can really tune it to the way that you want it to score your search results.
I don't know how to test others. Cool. I'm trying to test the because I've set case sensitive to true. I'm trying to work out how I can. Oh, I guess the scores will be different, right? Yeah, but yeah, that is cool. So then if they match the case, so let's see that first item has a score of 0.597, and if I do a capital Q, will that get lower? I would imagine that should get lower.
Did you do the
Uh,
capital?
oh, apparently I didn't.
You had one
Oh,
job.
I have one job, and it was to make. Oh, it won't go capital. Oh, it's
Are we?
because we're setting to lowercase in our
Mm,
over here. So let's get rid of that. And let me try that again. So it wasn't my fault. So sorry. So let's try again. So it's 0.0597 versus 0.0597. Oh
but it's
yeah,
a
it
different
is.
result, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change until like the fifth decimal place. So like it's 0.597. Oh no. It is the same.
But they're different results, right?
Are they?
Yeah, because that first one doesn't have quid as a lowercase. Am I crazy? Oh, I guess I'm crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Never mind.
Yeah, you are crazy, but yeah, I'm particularly crazy about this. But yeah,
Hmm.
I guess it should be affecting the scores, but maybe I haven't set it up right or something. Or did we make everything lowercase somewhere else? Or yeah, no. Anyway, that's cool. So, like, is your thought then that you would like have a search component that people could just plug into, or like would you? Like, what are your
And when you
thoughts?
say that, do you mean a React component?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like it for
What did you mean by component, I guess?
yeah. So, this is a starter. This is a next starter. Someone's coming along to plug into their WordPress, and we know that when you land on WordPress at the moment, like when you out of the box, um, WordPress does have a built-in search. That
Hmm.
we can search for everything we were just searching for, and we'll get you know nice search results type thing coming up. Um,
For sure.
so is the thought that the starter will have like that type of functionality and next out of the box?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thinking. Like, I want to try to add as many of the like kind of standard features. Like, I consider search one of the standard
Mm-hmm.
features of most themes that you get from
Mm-hmm.
WordPress. Correct me if I'm
Mm-hmm.
wrong. You have more experience with
Yep. Yep.
WordPress. But those kind of things, like, I feel like that's core to having a WordPress site. So I want to be able to provide that. So in terms of implementation, the way that I'm kind of imagining this is I want to provide a React hook that I can provide that search
Mm-hmm.
capability that somebody can use throughout the
Mm-hmm.
entire um, site without having to do this manually.
Yep.
Um, just a little bit more of an easier interface for people to use. Um, but then with that, they should be able to plug that in wherever they want and add the search. But I would include it by default.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And do you think you'll build it on Fuse like we've done today, or would you do it with search matches, or like how do you think you go about building that?
I feel like I would use Fuse just because it's so powerful out of the
Mm.
box. Like, because it can get very complicated and tricky trying to roll out your own search. Um, and especially because like all that's built in and you can tune it however you want
Mm-hmm.
with Fuse
Mm-hmm.
out of the box, like by providing the
Yep.
options. So that makes it attractive for me.
That's really awesome. That's really, and I wonder, like, so can we?
And it's
It
fast.
is really fast, yeah. Oh, it's interesting, yeah, like how close they are together. Yeah. So,
There's a lot of great options in there. Yeah.
oh, interesting. So that.
And
Mhm.
something I never even got into is it provides indexing. I'm not sure how much that makes sense client side, but it does have actual oh was the
Yeah,
oh that's why I was
yeah.
sorry, I might have told you the wrong
No,
one.
no, I think that was me.
Um,
So yeah, so sorry. Now that I've got the right option object. So that is got that quidem. That first one's got a score of 0.0597, but if I lowercase it, it's still the same result. But its score now is 0.56, so it's 10
hmm,
times. It's got 10 times the score. Okay, cool. That makes me feel a bit better because that looks more
yeah.
that looks more reasonable. Yeah, cool.
But yeah, but the indexing, I'm guessing that makes more sense if you're doing something
Hmm.
server related. But that's kind of getting past my understanding and my experience with it.
Mm.
But like, that's just another level of power that it kind of gives you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool things with Fuse that makes it nice to use.
I used to be responsible for a search index that was 50 gigabits large and was getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day.
Nice.
And so it was sharded and it was on different, it was like lots of different strategies to try to make that as efficient as possible. But it
Wow.
had transformers on like creating the document. It started it processed that, but also then on the search. So you have like two levels of transformers. So you have like, so as it ingested our search.json, it would maybe do some pre-indexing so that a search would be faster.
Mm,
And then it also does stuff
yeah.
on the search term. And so then matches the two up in some ways. So yeah, it's a whole like,
And that becomes
hmm?
and that definitely becomes more important the more the data grows. Like here, we don't have a huge data set, but imagine like New York Times trying to parse all of their articles.
Mhm.
Like that's where something like an index is going to become more critical.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Hey,
What was it?
what were we
Yeah,
gonna
I forget what I was going to say, but yeah,
say? Awesome. So, they, I guess that it'd be great if we could get blocks working, because at the moment it's the the posts are presumably just blobbing out the HTML, or blobbing out the
yeah,
where is that happening in the post page?
yeah,
Yeah. And there's a reason why it's called dangerously set inner HTML, and it
yeah.
has a really
I
horrible
mean,
API.
that was the traditional way of doing it, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are other things I think that have been traditional in years gone by that we've decided that we don't want to do that way anymore, Colby. But we
no
could.
judgment, no judgment.
But yeah, no. So what would be cool is if we were able to get the blocks, then our get static props here would return not will get post by slug, fine, but that function, that get post by slug function, would instead of just getting the data, it would build up the data, build up this post object. It would have the blocks as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, then we'll be able to play with that a bit more. And what's nice, and like what ACF does really well, is it. So one of the problems that people had with Gutenberg, which is that pretty post editor in WordPress, is that this is all built in React. So each of these blocks is a React component. And when you save this to the database, it just saves a blob of HTML with all the style, with all the markup, with the text. So people who've been using WordPress for a long time are quite grumpy about that, because suddenly you have theming and database stuff and data kind of together as opposed to separate. Which is why a lot of people who will use ACF, because they can specifically keep the data
Mm,
separate from the styling, so then they can have that
interesting.
handled differently. But yeah, it's I think it would be interesting to see what we can do about getting the content separate from the styling, because then we can apply the styling that we want to on the WordPress side. It'll be fun to try to work that out a bit. But yeah, I'll have a think
Yeah,
about
and
that.
I'd also be interested in moving this to
Mm.
GraphQL before we even get there, because it sounds like it'll make it
I think
easier.
it probably will,
Um,
but yeah, that would be interesting. But I
mm.
haven't tried. I've been I've been looking at Blitz.js. Have you come across Blitz.js
I haven't used it, but I've heard about it like in
in the
the
Twitters?
Twitter
Yeah,
sphere.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it seems really cool, and it's built on Next, which is awesome.
yeah. I spent a bit of time on Friday looking at it. I'm going to spend a bit of time this Friday again looking at it. But it's database backed again, which feels like odd coming now. For like, it feels odd for me to think about. Oh, that's got a database behind it.
Yeah.
But it's Prisma, which obviously Prisma can be
Mm.
swapped out to point to the GraphQL quite easily. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of different approach. But yeah, so yeah, let's think about getting blocks. Let's think about getting GraphQL. And
Yeah.
then yeah, that'd be great. Um,
Cool.
cool. I think will we wrap up there?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Sounds like a good idea. Well, thanks for everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
I
everybody.
will have there's a if you want, there's this will be on my YouTube channel, so I'll post out a recording. Sorry, my internet seems to be dropping out a bit. I think apparently I've lost 2.7% of the frames in the past little while, so well done
Oh
for
well.
you guys for sticking with us through some technical hitches. But Colby, thanks. This was a lot of fun. And
Yeah, thanks for hosting.
I'll catch you soon. Bye all.
Cool. Take care.
Bye.